Slow-moving limos. Caroline was very sad. Caroline was only 6 years old, and her father had just died. In fact, her father had been assassinated. Sitting in the back of a big black limousine, Caroline Kennedy didn't quite know what to do with her sadness. On the seat next to her sat her nanny, Maud Shaw, and next to Maud, Caroline's younger brother, John. Through the windshield, Caroline could see her mother, Jackie, and her uncles, Robert and Ted, walking in front of the limousine as it slowly made its way down the boulevard to St. Matthew's Cathedral. Looking out her side of the car, Caroline recognized the friendly face of Secret Service agent Robert Foster. She liked and trusted Robert Foster, not knowing what to do with her sadness, and on impulse she rolled down the window and stuck out her 6-year-old hand. Agent Foster had a choice to make. Secret Service agents are not allowed to have their hands occupied, needing to be ready for any emergency. But Robert Foster didn't even think twice. He held Caroline's hand tightly the entire way to the cathedral. Later, Agent Foster said it was all he could do to fight back his own tears of sadness for little Caroline Kennedy. When asked about his kindness, he seemed surprised. "All I did was hold a hand," he answered. We all know sadness. Life breaks for each one of us in different ways and in different places, or it breaks for people that we love, and we want to help carry the weight. And sometimes the sadness seems too much to carry. It requires courage to roll down the window, to ask, to invite, to connect. For whatever reason, there is a knee-jerk need to deny any sadness or dismiss it or apologize for it. "I'm sorry," people will say, wiping away their tears, as if their sadness is a violation of some tenet of propriety. Heaven forbid, if any humanity is exposed. I will tell you that sometimes I am afraid to ask. Okay, not sometimes, most of the time. I don't want to appear weak. Asking for help is a hard pill to swallow. Besides, I can handle it. At least that's what I tell myself. This morning, I'm a guest minister, joining the good people at the Vashon Lutheran Church. It meant only a short drive down the road, a commute without airports. I like that. The reading was from the Gospel of John, a conversation a day or so after the feeding of the 5,000, which was really the feeding of the 15,000, since they only counted the men. But I digress. So, some followers of Jesus wanted to have a discussion about this miracle and needed an explanation. Okay, I get that. If ever we were to witness a miracle, we'd like to explain it, or maybe even bottle it. But this miracle, essentially, being fed to fullness with the bread of life, is not a cerebral exercise or a case study. Would you like to know the ingredients of Jesus' miracle? Sit down, give thanks, break bread, feed one another. So I'm wondering, could this miracle happen even today? Because the miracle has nothing to do with our faith or willpower or competency or togetherness, I believe the answer is yes. I was raised in a religious environment that taught me otherwise. It told me that I was being weighed and measured by my faith and togetherness. And because of that, I needed to eradicate my messiness, to quash my untidiness or grief or my sadness. I now believe differently. I now know that we find and express acceptance, love, and grace, the place where we can be fully human, in our messy, imperfect, and fully thorny selves. In other words, we can embrace this life without any need to Photoshop it. Remember Pinocchio, who, while pondering himself, founders in confusion about his self-worth? Finally, he turns to his maker, Geppetto, and in a pleading way says, "Papa, I'm not sure who I am, but if I'm all right with you, then I guess I'm all right with me." To be human is to be vulnerable. And from that vulnerability, we risk, we feed one another, and we hold a hand. I am capable of being wounded and cut and sad, which also means that I am capable of being kind and generous and present. And in such moments of heartache, I have the courage to ask for a hand to hold. And in such moments of heartache, I have the courage to hold a hand that needs to be held. I now believe that the instruction or dogma of my childhood that led me into faith is not what saved me, my friend tells me. It was the kindness of my Sunday school teacher. It was when my parents forgave me when I wronged them. It was the friend who stood alongside when I felt isolated from my peers. It was the hymns we sang in unison as a community. It was the touch of a kind hand when someone had shamed me. It was the touch of the other, my brother and sister, that saved and saves me today. Robert Foster didn't think twice about holding a hand that needed to be held. And he wasn't posturing or amassing heavenly brownie points. He was doing what needed to be done. Here's the deal. We don't need more remedies or advice. We need touch. We become more human when we touch. When we touch, we are seen. When we are seen or fed, we recognize that our value is not tied solely to our sadness. I have written a Sabbath Moment about the town of Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, where there is a church named Lanyap. It is an old Creole word which means something extra. Pastor John LaRue explains, down here, if you go into a seafood shop and order a pound of shrimp, they put in an extra handful. That's the lanyap. It's something you can't pay for.